I used to think family ties were unbreakable, that no matter what life threw at us, blood would hold us together. My brother, Owen, and I grew up believing that. After our parents passed, it was just the two of us against the world. We had our differences. He was charming and reckless, I was cautious and steady, but he was my anchor, the only constant I had left. When he met Leela, I was thrilled for him. She was radiant, warm smile, soft voice, the kind of person who could make a room feel lighter just by walking in. She'd wrap me in hugs, call me sis, and always say how lucky Owen was to have both of us. I believed her. I let her into our circle, into my trust, without hesitation. It wasn't until years later that I realized how perfectly she played her part. My husband, Nathan, and I had been married for 5 years when everything began to unravel. Our marriage wasn't perfect, whose is? But I thought we were solid. We had routines that felt safe, Sunday brunch, evening walks, late-night movies, nothing spectacular, but steady. Then, small things started to shift. Nathan began spending more time at work. He'd leave his phone face down on the table. When I'd ask how his day went, his answers were vague, mechanical. I assumed it was stress. I told myself not to be paranoid. But suspicion has a way of whispering, even when you don't want to listen. It was a Saturday evening when I noticed it, his phone buzzing nonstop while he showered. Normally, I wouldn't have touched it, but something about the frequency made my stomach twist. I glanced at the screen. A preview flashed across. Can't stop thinking about you. The sender's name made my breath hitch. Leela. For a long moment, the world went silent. I stared at the phone as if it might change on its own, as if there might be another explanation. My brother's wife? My friend? My sister in every way but blood. I felt my heart pounding in my throat, disbelief crashing through me. When Nathan came out of the shower, towel around his waist, humming like everything was fine, I could barely look at him. He caught my expression, confused. "Everything okay?" he asked. I forced a smile that felt like it might split my face. "Yeah," I said quietly, "everything's fine." That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, hearing echoes of every conversation I'd ever had with Leela. Every time she'd laughed with me, touched my hand, said she loved how steady Nathan and I were. Every time she'd said, "You and Owen are the only real family I've ever had." It was all a lie. The next morning, I needed proof. Not because I didn't believe what I'd seen, but because I needed to understand the depth of it. I opened Nathan's laptop when he went out for a run. Same messages, different tone. There were weeks' worth of conversations, late-night texts, plans, jokes about how Owen and I were too trusting, and one message that made me go cold. "Once she finds out, we'll deal with it together. It'll be better this way." Deal with it, like I was a problem to solve. I sat there in silence, anger and heartbreak warring inside me. Every instinct screamed to confront them, to tear down the walls they'd built on lies. But something in me held back. Explosions give satisfaction, strategy gives results. And I wanted this to cut the way they'd cut me. Quietly, deeply, irreversibly. That night, I called Owen. "Hey," I said, my voice steady though my hands shook. "Can you come by tomorrow? I found something you need to see." He sounded concerned, maybe even a little amused. "You sound serious. What's going on?" "Just come," I said softly. "It's about Leela." The next morning, Owen showed up, coffee in hand, casual as always. "You look like you haven't slept," he said, sitting on the couch. "What's this about?" I handed him my phone, open to a folder of screenshots I'd taken from Nathan's messages. His smile faded as he scrolled. The silence between us thickened until I could hear only his shallow breathing. "You're telling me," he finally said, voice trembling, "that my wife has been sleeping with your husband?" I nodded once. No tears, no drama, just truth. He stood abruptly, pacing, jaw tight. "How long?" "Months, maybe longer. I wanted you to see it for yourself. I didn't want you to hear it from anyone else." He looked at me with a mix of disbelief and gratitude, like he couldn't decide whether to hug me or destroy something. "You could have confronted them," he said. "I could have," I agreed. "But then they'd twist it. They'd deny it. You deserve to see the truth without the noise." He left without another word. I don't know exactly what happened that night. All I know is that by morning, Leela had packed her things, and Nathan's belongings were gone too. I didn't ask where they went. I didn't care. A few hours later, Owen called me. His voice was calm, eerily calm. "I served her papers," he said. "She's not fighting it." I exhaled slowly, the first breath that didn't hurt in days. Over the next few weeks, the fallout rippled quietly. My phone buzzed with half-hearted apologies from Nathan, messages I never opened. Lila tried once to call, then stopped. Owen and I spoke often, not about them, but about everything else. Childhood memories, work, even the weather. We rebuilt our connection one conversation at a time, both of us pretending we weren't shattered. One afternoon, a mutual friend told me she'd seen Nathan and Lila together at a cafe 2 towns over. I felt nothing. No sting, no rage, just an odd sort of pity. They'd built their relationship on betrayal, and deep down, I knew it wouldn't last. People like that always destroy themselves. Weeks turned into months. I filed for divorce quietly. The process was surprisingly smooth. Nathan didn't contest a thing. Maybe guilt, maybe exhaustion. Either way, it was over. Owen, on the other hand, thrived. Once the divorce went through, he threw himself into work, got a promotion, started running again. One evening, he stopped by my place with takeout and a grin. "You know," he said, cracking open a beer, "I should thank you." "For what?" I asked. "For letting me see her for who she really was. If you'd confronted them, she would have spun a story, said you misunderstood. I'd have believed her. You gave me the one thing I needed, clarity." I smiled faintly. "You deserve to see the truth yourself." He raised his bottle. "To truth, then." I clinked mine against his. A few months later, word spread that Lila had tried to open a boutique with Nathan's help. It failed within weeks. She'd borrowed heavily under his name. The debts caught up fast. I heard through whispers that Nathan left her soon after, broke and bitter. They'd used each other until there was nothing left. I never gloated. Revenge, I learned, doesn't always need noise or spectacle. Sometimes it's as simple as letting people destroy themselves with their own choices. But I won't lie. There was a certain satisfaction in knowing justice had found them without me lifting a finger. 1 year later, Owen and I stood together at our parents' old cabin, the place where everything began. We decided to restore it, give it new life. As we painted the porch, the air smelled of pine and clean beginnings. Owen looked over at me, his expression soft. "You ever think about them?" he asked. "Sometimes," I admitted. "But mostly, I think about how we survived it." He nodded. "We did more than survive. We started over." And he was right. I'd found peace not by fighting fire with fire, but by choosing silence, precision, and grace. The truth didn't need to be shouted. It just needed to be seen. Years later, when people asked how I managed to stay so calm through betrayal, I'd smile and say, because sometimes the loudest revenge is quiet. And every time I said it, I could almost hear Lila's voice calling me sis, like a ghost of the past, reminding me just how far I'd come.
You've just stepped into her revenge side, where every wound finds its justice, and every silence ends with truth. If her story struck a chord, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Another secret waits in the next video. See how her revenge begins.